Ciao, come stai? Welcome to another installment of Herstory. This will be episode 2 in our little Florence trip Herstory episodes, if that makes any sense. So if you haven't watched part 1, please do go back and watch part 1 on Contessina Bardi. And also I have done a Historian Reacts episode on the 2 Medici episodes, Medici Masters of Florence and Medici the Magnificent, so go and check that out as well. But here we are for episode 2, Clarice Orsini. Now Clarice Orsini is Contessina Bardi's granddaughter-in-law. So Contessina Bardi has a son Pierrot with Cosimo the Elder, and Pierrot the Gouty. I can't get over him being called Pierrot the Gouty, poor thing. Pierrot the Gouty has son Lorenzo, who goes on to be called Lorenzo the Magnificent, and his wife is Clarice Orsini. Born 1540 in Monterotondo in the Papal States to Jacopo and Maddalena Orsini. Like many noble girls, her early life is unknown, though she likely had a very traditional Catholic education. When Lucrezia Tournabuoni, Pierrot's wife, her soon-to-be mother-in-law, was in Rome on a mission to find Lorenzo de' Medici a wife, the modest, slim and pretty Clarice caught her eye. She had a powerful family name and would support Lorenzo without outshining him. Lucrezia immediately settled an agreement, and Clarice moved to Florence in 1469, and her and Lorenzo married on the 4th of June during a 4-day-long celebration. I'm going to be drinking a lot of water during this, just to warn you, because I've been filming. I've done Hedy Lamarr today. I've also done Contessina Bardi and Historian Reacts for the Medici. Oh, my throat, my voice, my thirsty. So they married on the 4th of June, 1469, in a 4-day-long celebration. It wasn't the happiest of marriages. Lorenzo was outgoing and he was the life and soul of the party, and he was gregarious, and Clarice was very calm and shy and traditional, and she hated being the centre of attention. She didn't have a great interest in literature or art, and she kind of struggled to adjust to the free Renaissance humanist Florence coming from pious traditional Rome. I think, as I said in Historian Reacts, it would have been very strange to her coming from Rome, where everything is very traditional, undercover, no nudity, and then you come to Florence and all the statues have got their winkies and their boobies out. It would be very much of an adjustment for her. However, they did form a great deal of respect and affection for one another, and they went on to have 10 children, 6 of whom survived to adulthood. She was seen as a powerful influencer, helping her brother to become the Archbishop of Florence, and being grabbed by people wanting her to put in a good word with her husband over requests they'd made to him all the time. She helped in the easing of taxes for the common people and petitioned for the release of exiled or imprisoned family members. She used her network to gather political and military information, so she was there behind the scenes, like networking, schmoozing, greasing palms, kind of, just getting people to be Team Medici, basically. In 1478, problems with the bank, with the bank, the Medici bank, over which bank in Italy should hold the papal account, culminated in the Pazzi conspiracy. Basically, the Pazzi family attempted to have Lorenzo and his brother Giuliano, who ran the bank with him, murdered, and they did this on Easter Sunday during High Mass at the Cathedral Santa Maria del Fiore in the middle of Florence, under the Duomo, for all of Florence to see. Giuliano was murdered. Lorenzo got away. He managed to escape to the sacristy, but brother Giuliano was unfortunately murdered, and after this, Clarice and the children were sent away to Pistoia for their safety. Ultimately, the Patsy conspiracy, the plot failed, and Lorenzo il Magnifico prevailed, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. Patsy stuff. For the most part, Clarice played the role of doting housewife and diplomat. However, when it came to her children, not even Lorenzo could sway her. When Lorenzo appointed 2 artists for the education of the children, Clarice rebelled and won. Her children would be raised in accordance with Christian doctrine. Thank you very much. Whilst living in Florence, Clarice had always dreamt of returning to Rome, and she made it happen quite often, acting as Lorenzo's representative when she did go to Rome, which was highly unusual for a woman to do at the time. Her last visit to Rome was in 1469 to attend her daughter's wedding to the Pope's son. After years of sickness, Clarice died on the 30th of July 1488 of tuberculosis, far from her husband and far from her beloved Rome. Lorenzo wasn't in Florence at the time, nor did he attend the funeral because he was very ill himself in Siena. He was in Siena hoping to be cured, and in a letter to Pope Innocent VIII, he said that he dearly missed his late wife. Clarice was buried in the Basilica of San Lorenzo. Again, if you've watched a video that I've done on Florence, the Basilica of San Lorenzo is my favourite building in the whole of Florence. It's beautiful. Son Pierrot the Unfortunate inherited the bank after Lorenzo's death. So you've got Cosimo the Elder, this is what I can gather, like the order of succession. Cosimo the Elder, Pierrot the Gouty, Lorenzo the Magnificent, and then Pierrot the Unfortunate. I don't think they should have called their kids Pierrot, just saying. So son Giovanni, Lorenzo and Clarice's son Giovanni, went on to become Pope Leo X. Son Giuliano became Duke of Nemours in France. Their daughter Contessina, the thing of naming kids after grandparents and brothers and sisters is very complicated. It's very complicated for me coming from an Italian family, trying to piece together my Italian family tree. Everyone's got the same flipping names. So many Angelinas in my family. Angelinas and Vincenzos and Albertos and yeah. So Contessina, daughter Contessina, named after her grandmother, married into the Ridolfi family. Piero Ridolfi was her husband, and she was the mother of Cardinal Niccolo Ridolfi. Daughter Maria married the son of Pope Innocent VIII, and daughter Lucrezia married Jacopo Salviato and had 2 cardinals for sons and a Grand Duke and a Pope for a grandchild. How about that? So here's some facts about Lorenzo's Lucrezia's her mother-in-law. Some facts about Lorenzo's wife. So obviously a lot of what we know about Clarice Orsini comes from the knowledge of the life of her husband, Lorenzo. So here are a few facts about Lorenzo's life. So Clarice was the silent companion of Lorenzo the Magnificent. He was the de facto ruler of Florence, the bank to basically all of Europe. They were the Rothschilds of their time. He was a magnate, diplomat, politician, patron of the arts, and sponsor of artists like Botticelli, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, and Verrocchio. Michelangelo actually lived with the family for 3 years and dined at the family table. Lorenzo expanded Cosimo's library. They also adopted Giuliano's illegitimate son Giulio after Giuliano was killed during the Patsy conspiracy, and Giulio went on to become Pope Clement VII. Lorenzo died on the 8th of April 1492 at the family villa and was buried with his brother Giuliano at the Basilica of San Lorenzo. Upon his death, the Signoria and councils of Florence issued a decree that said, "The foremost man of all this city, the lately deceased Lorenzo de' Medici, did during his whole life neglect no opportunity of protecting, increasing, adorning, and raising this city, but was always ready with counsel, authority, and painstaking in thought and deed, shrank from neither trouble nor danger for the good of the state of its freedom." So there we are. So despite Lorenzo being gregarious and openly taking mistresses, Clarice was a sharp, patient, and deeply committed wife who was a valuable advisor. She worked tirelessly for the advancement of her children. She was the woman behind the scenes during the golden age of Florence and great-grandmother of Catherine de' Medici, who, guess what, will be episode 3 of our Florence trilogy. So, to see more, she is played by Synnøve Carlson. I hope I'm saying that first name right. I'm really bad with Scandinavian names. In Medici the Magnificent, and you can also play Medici in Assassin's Creed 2. I believe it's Assassin's Creed 2, but that's set during Renaissance Florence. So cool, right? So yes, there we go. That is Clarice Orsini, wife of Lorenzo the Magnificent. Please do go and have a look at episode 1 of Contessina Bardi if you haven't already, and please go and have a look at Historian Reacts to how I feel about Medici the Magnificent and Medici Masters of Florence. Yeah, there's quite a lot of historical inaccuracies in Masters of Florence, but the Magnificent is slightly better. Yeah, so please go and have a look at that, and please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will be notified when episode 3 of our Florence trilogy, Catherine de' Medici, comes out and is ready. Thanks as always for your love and support, and I will see you next time on another episode of Herstory.